Hi, and welcome to this quick how to help video on solving linear equations. So this is the first of a series, and it's just talking about the basics. It's introducing the method that you are then going to see kind of all over my videos, because I use this method not just for solving equations, but for rearranging formula, for doing trig questions, Pythag, all sorts of places you'll hear me using this same sort of language. So I want to just look at a very, very basic question, one that we can see the answer to. So x plus 4 equals 10, so that we can talk about the method with numbers that make sense to us, okay? Now, an equation is all about balancing. So this side of the equals is the same, that's what equals mean, is the same as this side. So I know this has to be 6. 6 plus 4 is 10, and obviously 10 is 10. And we use this balancing idea as a method for solving equations. I adapt it and I do something slightly different, because then I think it extends itself across other topics. And if I can use one method in lots of places, that is way better than learning 5 methods. So this is what you may have seen in the past, not quite the way I do it. So the balancing is, if I want to know what x is equal to, if I can get rid of this plus 4, it will get it on its own. So I'll take off the 4, but if I take off the 4 and leave x on this side, I've got to keep the balance. So I've got to take 4 off that side, and it's giving me 6. So that's technically what's going on in the background of the method that I'm going to be using. And my method is called the hopping method. Again, it's not unique to me. Other teachers use it as well, so you may well have seen it. So the hopping method is taking the x plus 4 equals 10, and we're still thinking about, right, if I want to know what that x equals, I need to get it on its own. To get it on its own, using the hopping method, I am going to pick up the plus and the 4. I want x completely on its own, and I'm going to kind of arrow it across the equals and dump it on the other side. When it lands, and this is crucial, and it's where people can go wrong very easily, when it lands as its opposite sign. So it's going to land as minus 4. The plus changes to minus. Now, when I tidy up, okay, the x has got, the plus 4 has gone, x is left on its own, and 10 take 4 is 6. All right, so we're going to be hopping everything away from the x so that it's left completely on its own. And my skill has to involve my knowledge of opposite signs. So a plus is going to hop over the equals and land as a minus. A minus will hop over the equals and land as a plus. Times lands as divide. Divide lands as times. And then as we develop our skills, we'll be hopping things like the power 2. So I might have an x with a power 2 on it. When that lands, it lands as its opposite, a square root. And when I said earlier, and I was introducing this, probably a long way away for you if you're watching this now, but we've got a topic called trigonometry, and you'll find yourself hopping things like cos. Cos would hop and land as cos minus 1. So there's all these things that we can use and combine with this particular method. So let's see a couple more. If I was to give you x minus 9 equals 7. If I want to know what x equals, I'm going to get it on its own. So I am going to pick up that minus 9, dump it on the other side. Remember, it lands as plus. So change sides, change signs. Could be something that you have in your head. X is now on its own. Yeah, that minus 9 has been moved. It's gone. X is on its own, and 7 plus 9 is 16. There it is. What does x equal? x equals 16. We're looking at the basics, so we want to see this on a couple more examples so that we're really secure about what we're doing. So if I've got 3x equaling 21, I don't have a sign that's standing out like I did before. I could see that plus and I could see that minus, but I can't see anything here. And that is because there is an invisible times sign between the 3 and the x. 3x means 3 times x. So actually 3x, 3 times x, is equal to 21. So when I'm picking up the 3, I'm picking up an invisible times sign as well. And that's coming across and it's landing as divide by 3. Okay, now that's a good habit to do. You could write 21 divided by 3, but this is a really good way because it's the way that we write algebra. We don't tend to use the divide sign, the same as we don't use the times sign. And as our skills advance and our questions get harder, this sort of thing's going to make life easier, just being comfortable doing that. So I've moved that, it's gone. X is on its own. How many 3s can I get into 21? 7. So that's an example of when you've got a times happening. Let's have a look at what divide looks like, because a lot of people don't really like this. It feels like it's harder than it is. It feels like a fraction. It just feels really tricky, but don't lose sight of what we're actually looking at. The divide line is here. The line in a fraction is a divide line. So this is saying x divided by 5. I want to get x on its own, so I'm picking up the 5 and the divide line, and I'm moving it to the other side. Divide, what is the opposite? Lands as times. So I've got x equals 2 times 5. So I've got x equals 10. And that's an example of when you are having to move a divide. Okay, next style of question is two-step questions. And you'll see why they're called two-step in a moment. So if I gave us 3x plus 4 equaling 22, if I'm going to get x on its own, I have got to move plus 4. I've also got to move 3 times x. So I've got a 3 times there, haven't I? That's 2 things that I've got to move, making it a two-step question. So what do I move first? Do I move the 3 or do I move the 4? Now, this isn't foolproof, so I can't promise this is going to work every time, but it's really helpful. And when we're first learning about this topic and we get questions like this, it works every time. It's only as our equations grow that you start to think, oh, that didn't quite work there. And as we go through the different videos and the different stages, then I'll point out what I mean by that. But one of the things that you can do to make sure that you hop in the right order, because it is important, is you could just read this out to yourself what you can see. Stop when you get to the equals, but you can say, right, I've got 3 times x plus 4. The last thing that you say is the first thing that you hop. So 3x plus 4 is picking up the plus 4, because it was the last thing I said, and dropping it to the other side. Remember, it's going to land as minus 4. I've now got 3x left on this side of the equals because that 4's been moved. I've also got a little piece of maths that I've got to do there. 22 take away 4 tidies up to 18. So I've done one of my steps. I've moved one of my numbers. Now I'm going to move the other one. I'm going to pick up that 3 and I'm going to dump it on the other side. But I must remember it's times on that side so that when it lands, it does land as a divide. There's the divide line, divide by 3. X is equal to how many 3s in 18? 6. Okay. So let's see that again. I've got 5x minus 7 equals 33. I've got 5 times x minus 7. Minus 7 was the last thing I said, so it's the first thing that goes, and it lands is plus 7. That's gone. I've just got 5x left. And 33 plus 7 is 40. I'm now going to pick up that 5, which is a times, and divide it on the opposite side. I've now got x is equal to 8. Job done. And as they get harder, as we see our equations go into fractions and negative answers, that will work an absolute treat. It's not going to break down. It's a really foolproof method. So it's the hopping method for solving linear equations. Now, there is one last thing that can happen that a lot of students really don't like, and I'm just going to give you a little trick so that you can just get around it actually and not worry about it too much. If I gave you the question like that, the whole thing suddenly feels different. And for some students, it feels so different, it really messes with their head and they don't get any further with it. If you're confident, you will still just get x on its own by picking up the bits and pieces and dropping them on the opposite side. But it going sort of back to front like this, like I say, for some students, it's just very tricky to do. So instead of trying to do that, you can literally just have them swap places. Say, I don't like it written that way round. I want my 6x minus 11 on the left-hand side, and I want the single bit on its own to be on the right-hand side. As long as you write exactly what is there and all of what is there, this side, and swap it with this on this side, it shouldn't go wrong. So you should be pretty safe to do that. And then, of course, we can just carry on as normal. And I might as well finish this as I've started it. So the last thing I say is minus 11. So I'm going to add 11. So that's gone. 6x is left. 7 plus 11 is 18. And I am then going to pick up my 6, which is a times on that side. And I'm going to drop it on the other side. And that's going to give me x equaling 3. Okay. So hopefully, I just had my phone go off, which has caused all sorts of things go off on my screen. Not very good. But hopefully it didn't cause anything at your end. And that's it. That's your basics. So the next video on will be the next level up, if you like, okay? And we'll be looking at equations with brackets. And then as you work your way through the series, you're going to see all sorts of different types of questions with just short and quick explanations, because you've got all the basics here in the main one. All right. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have found it useful.